My friend who sends me the text and says, I still feel like I'm 30. Is she delusional in some way? Is she not adapting to being 58? No, not at all. She is connecting with something deeper inside of her in relation to herself. She is connecting to the well that is in her in terms of this self. And this is very healthy. This is very good. And it will help her in her negotiation of this linear time. And before we move into this, also, I want us to think about how we engage with time. We think about a lot of our experience as lived in linear time, right? Past, present, future. There I was in the past, here I am in the present, here I am looking forward to the future, and it's linear, and we make sense of it that way. There is a whole other way that we engage with time that we talk less about, okay? For example, I had a friend who sent me a message the last day, and it was a text message, and she said to me, how are you doing, all of this? She said, my son John is 25 today. She said, how does this happen? She said, I really still feel like I'm 30. Okay, now that's interesting, isn't it? I think we have all probably had that experience. Part of us is saying, I can see the linear progression of time passing. My son John is 25. I can see that in the years. I know logically that I am 58, let's say, but inside I still feel 30. What do we do with this? Okay, this is really interesting, I think. So what we're saying is that there is a linear self almost, but also a timeless self, okay? A thematic self. Now, I think this is what Jung was speaking about when he talked about the self. He was talking about something bigger than linear time, okay? And I think we don't give enough space for this, and that there are hidden things in this. Sharon Kaufman wrote a beautiful book probably 30 years ago, and it was called The Ageless Self. And it was a study with elders. It was qualitative interviews. She really wanted to get a sense of what it felt like to age and how people described themselves as they aged. And she said, okay, from everything I can see, the one thing that we are not speaking about is the fact that older people don't always feel old inside. And what does that mean? Okay, that's very important. Why is this important? Is it because all the older people are not realizing that they're getting older? No. They're perfectly connected to their linear sense of time. It's not that at all. Is it that they are failing to adapt to the passage of time? No, of course not. It's that there are parts of the self, parts of all of our personalities that exist and that are in there and that pass through that linear time in a timeless manner. Okay? Things like our values, things like our personal character strengths, parts of us that were there at the beginning, that are there now, and that will be there towards the end, okay? Timeless parts. And we really, I think, draw on these timeless parts for strength in moments of things like suffering, in moments of things like the grief experience. We really draw on these parts of ourselves when we are losing other things around us. The ego kind of says, I can't bear this. I don't want to lose this. It's not fair that I'm losing this. I'm uncomfortable losing this. I feel uncertain, unsafe, nervous about this. I feel nervous about the linear progression of time. But the ageless part can say, I have what I need. What we're saying here is, my friend who sends me the text and says, I still feel like I'm 30. Is she delusional in some way? Is she not adapting to being 58? No, not at all. She is connecting with something deeper inside of her in relation to herself. She is connecting to the well that is in her in terms of this self. And this is very healthy. This is very good. And it will help her in her negotiation of this linear time. So like one question that we might think of here is, and certainly if somebody kind of comes in for therapy, or if they come in to do something like life review or reminiscence work, we think, okay, what's important about 30? Why is that coming up now? What does the self in there, that timeless self, What does it want to remind her about in terms of this age of 30? You know, who was she at 30? And what does it mean for her now?